Thank you, Chairman Bilirakis, for allowing me to be part of this important hearing. Consumer deception is an ever-growing threat to Americans from small towns to large cities. People are at heightened risk of encountering counterfeit products online every minute of every day. Many of these products come from China. Online retailers controlled by China have found ways to make their product appear more credible as they enter the U.S. supply chain. As recently as February of this year, U.S. Customs and Border Patrol officers in Pittsburgh seized a massive shipment of counterfeit handbags, jewelry, and scarves from China. The items were manufactured to appear as well-known brands that are sold in the United States. These products are marketed as authentic, and they would have been valued at over $300,000. That is $300,000 coming out of the pockets of Americans, and that is being spent on fake products. These items threaten the American consumer, and they violate the law. The Chinese marketplace is working overtime right now as we're holding this hearing to thieve and steal and conceive to take money out of Americans' pockets. Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent to enter this August 2025 report from the Information Technology and Innovation Foundation on the prevalence of counterfeit goods from China online stores into the record.
Without objection, so ordered.
Today, I have multiple counterfeit goods with me that were manufactured in China and are available online to consumers on websites that are controlled by China. Potentially unsafe children's toys like the beloved Yoda, made with untested products from China, have been sold online, looking a lot like the Yoda that we know and love, but being fooled by Americans to purchase these products. A cold medicine that closely resembles what is sold in U.S. retail pharmacies, the packaging only differs slightly, making it difficult for American consumers to discern whether this is fake or whether it's the real product. As a dermatologist, the presence of counterfeit health products online is deeply alarming to me. If a patient decides to purchase a counterfeit product online and they ultimately receive a Chinese manufactured product, that can not only just be ineffective, but it could be harmful to the patient. These probiotic supplements for pets are counterfeit as well and are a fake version of a legitimate product that is made in the United Kingdom. After pet owners purchased the fake product and gave these supplements to their dogs, some of the dogs had to be hospitalized. There is no way to tell what is actually in these products, and American consumers unknowingly purchase these each and every day online. These criminals understand exactly how to target the U.S. supply chain online and force their products into the homes of American families. And I think you all recognize that that threat continues to grow. Mr. Castro, criminals targeting the U.S. marketplace with counterfeit products manufactured in China are evolving each and every day, and their deceptive practices are appearing more trustworthy to American families, especially when it comes to medicines and other healthcare products. What specific trends are you noticing?
Thank you for the question, and thank you for highlighting the severity of the problem. One thing we're seeing is that some of these Chinese companies are trying to move up the value chain. So not only they're starting with producing the counterfeit goods, trading on the American brands, getting trust, but they're then improving and eventually trying to sell their own products that are basically replicating and stealing and building off of the IP of these American companies. And so they're not just hurting them in the short term, they're really trying to hurt these businesses in the long term.
Mr. Castro, in your written testimony, you mentioned the Stop the Fraud Act, which you and I recognize as being very important. Can you explain how a published list of foreign adversary-controlled online retailers would be beneficial to the American consumer?
I think the American consumers need to know what they can trust and what they can't trust, and having that information available to them, that these are certain platforms that the U.S. government has looked at, that national security experts have looked at and deemed harmful, will help them make much more informed decisions about where they do their shopping.
As consumers right now are surfing the web and looking at products, do you feel that there is an effective way for the consumer to know who is marketing these products and whether or not they are safe right now?
I don't think all consumers even know that they're buying from a foreign online marketplace. They see something on TikTok or Instagram and they click and buy.
And as this threat of counterfeit products grows and our communities are targeted by these criminals, we in Congress must take the necessary steps to protect the consumers and defend their health and protect their safety. Thank you again, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to wave on to this important committee hearing today, and I yield back the remainder
I
of my
thank the
time.
gentleman.